This one here is 2026 real estate outlook, what leading housing economists are watching. And I don't want to end this show at all without talking about the market. We're now in a new year, and there are certain things that are published this time of year in regards to predictions leading up to the new year. This live stream I talked a lot about the market and what was going on. So I want to start this year off talking about a little bit about what the economists are saying. I think it's important for us to keep our tabs on what is happening. So let's get into this article that was by nar.realtor.com. Or I'm sorry, nar.realtor. It's part of their magazine series. It says housing economists weigh in on the forces most likely to shape housing business in 2026, from mortgage rates and inventory to demographic and regional shifts. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So let's get into. Okay, I'm going to jump straight into this right here. Dr. Lawrence Yun, right? So I actually a few years ago had him on my show. He is the chief economist for NAR. Very smart guy. I will say he cautiously makes statements about predictions, and I so appreciate that because again, he's never going to be this crazy hype guy. He just he's very very chill, very easygoing, and just kind of says what the data says and then lets it land, right? So I appreciate that. So Dr. Lawrence Yoon, thank you for what you do. And his quote was this: "We are seeing a little better condition for more home sales, with more inventory and the lock-in effect steadily disappearing." So the lock-in effect is basically homeowners had bought they have bought at a point where the interest rate was so low that now the interest rate is so high, they're kind of locked into their home because if they sold their house and went to buy something else, they would have a higher interest rate. So they feel like they're kind of stuck. So that is what he's referencing there, that it's kind of changing just a little bit. All right. Because life changing events are making more people list their property to move on to their next home. Next year should be better with lower mortgage rates, and that will qualify more buyers. We are expecting home sales to increase by about 14% nationwide in 2026. So this has been a very common statement. As I read economists, they've all kind of agreed on this. I've not seen anyone kind of deviate from this whatsoever. All right, it says equity remains, but home prices moderate. Home price growth will be minimal, roughly 2 to 3%, about the same as overall consumer price inflation. Generally, wage growth will be above that. So it's a year where people's income begins to rise a little faster than consumer price inflation and home prices. And this is a welcoming development. So this is that balancing act. I talked about this all last year. Is we are at kind of like the reset of the market. The inflation, because of the interest rates landing about where they are, has caused the inflation to kind of cool a little bit. So that income and inflation gap is beginning to close a little bit. So then people feel more comfortable to go out and buy because the job market is improving and their income is improving. Now it's marginal, but since inflation is only 2 to 3%, that margin of income increasing versus the inflation should at some point get really, really close. And we're seeing that price adjustment as well. So this is all good news to bring in a balance back to the market. All right. Less pressure on buyers. Inventory levels are about 20% above 1 year ago, so there are more choices for consumers. We're not back to pre-COVID inventory yet, which I would consider normal. So we're still in a slight housing shortage condition. But consumers do not have to rush decisions the way they did before. There are more choices out there and less prevalence of multiple offers. So there you go. Buyers out there listening, you can shop around a little bit. We're not in a crazy inventory plight. We're still at a deficit, but properties are sitting a little bit longer on the market. The American dream is still alive. The desire for homeownership has not fallen. Many renters say that if the conditions are right, they would like to become homeowners. The past couple of years have been frustrating because of elevated mortgage rates, but things will be much better to achieve that American dream of ownership in 2026 with more inventory choices and mortgage rates falling. So, again, more stabilization going on in the market. Supply side signals. Robert Dietz actually had him on the show a few years ago, too. He's still in the same position as he was. He is the National Association of Home Builders chief economist. Had him on, talked about the building back. This is during the COVID era, and talked about many different things that was going on. Great guy. Again, very knowledgeable, straight to the point, uses data, no hyperbole at all. Just a really simple spoken guy. And he says, we're seeing some improvement in new home construction. One of the big helping factors is the ongoing easing from the Federal Reserve. While the Fed doesn't control mortgage interest rates, lowering the Fed funds rate does have a direct effect on the interest rates that builders pay on construction and development loans. That's good news for the supply side. good news for inventory, and therefore good news for home buyers and renters. For 2026, we're looking for about a 1% gain in single family home building and about a 1% gain in new home sales. Again, what we're seeing here is a more stabilization in the market, a more of a reset. So if we can see more new homes being built, that means income is caught back up, inflation has cooled, and there's a margin there. So that Fed cutting the rate helps with the purchasing of materials. So that number does come down, regardless of mortgage rates, right? So again, more good news.